Hello, Rob Papen here, and this is a tutorial about Rockkick if you are new to this plugin. Well, selecting presets you do up here. You have presets and banks, but you also can go to the manager, and there you will find all kind of different presets. Various artists created presets, and mostly they are hardcore style or hardstyle, but there are also EDM kicks and even hip-hop R&B kicks. Clicking on the manager, you go back, and the basic concept of Rockkick is that you can layer up to 3 kicks. So this could be layer 1, layer 2, and layer 3. If you click on this eye, you can select a layer to edit it. And if you go to layer 1, you can see that this one uses a model. Each layer can work either as a model or as a sample. And sample means that you have a range of samples already factory installed with even percussion sounds, snares, all kinds of things you can combine creating your bass drum. Yeah, of course, you can use also your own samples and drag and drop into this layer. But let me first show you what is equal in both layers. So either if you use model or sample, the right side remains the same. So if I take a model here, you see here we have the model parts, and on the right side we have a filter, then we have a LFO, and then you have a pre-EQ and a post-EQ. And with the hardcore, hardstyle and Rockkick creation, many producers use a pre-EQ ahead of the FX, which are down here, FX1 and FX2, which is in this case distortion. So they EQ ahead of the distortion and also EQ after the distortion. So the post EQ you can select here is behind these two FX are on the last part. So you have 3 layers, and each layer can work in either being a sample or a model. You can select them here, and you can make them active or deactivate here with this button on the right side, in this case in layer 3. Then there is a master section, and this master section allows you to essentially have already a kind of control over these 3 layers, so you still can edit here, kind of a bit of an easy page. You can have a different play mode. You can also say legato mode for the bass drum, that kind of thing. So some additional features are in the master section, and also in the master section you see we have a mono stereo split filter, which you can have on the total sound, and then again an EQ, which you can have on the total sound, included a parallel EQ. So the master section has also some very cool features to finalize your kick. So plenty options in terms of building up these sounds. Okay, so now let's go back to the model and let me tell you a bit more about the model. So what I will do now is pick the default preset, which is in the introduction bank. So here we have the default preset, and layer 1 is active and it uses the model. Well, the model is essentially a synthesizer which is used for creating bass drums, just like an analog drum machine. So down here you see the waveform, and essentially a kick is created by a very fast pitch envelope. And okay, let's play it. So here you see the pitch envelope. I can change the start point. And if I change the curve, or make it a bit longer, let's make it a bit less loud, you really hear that it essentially is a sweep down, but the sweep down is so fast that it generates this click, this transit click, which creates then this bass drum. So this is for the pitch glide of this bass drum. Then you have 2 tones, high and low. So this is a bit more like the original 909 type. And the high one is simply a bit different. in sound. So it's a matter of your own taste what you like to use. Well, this is the glide, the pitch glide down very fast. And then you have on the right side, you see there is a volume envelope. And this one also has a hold feature. Maybe you can recall if you had a original 808 that you wanted to have a bit longer volume of the tone. And well, you don't need that in raw kick if you create that kind of sound. Simply you use the hold to keep the volume of this pitch thing, so the volume component, to keep that higher. You hear the difference in tone? Or shorter. Yeah, down here we have the waveform, and you see it's a sinus waveform. But what we added to raw kick is that you even can use harmonics. Of course, this doesn't sound very nice if you use this on a very clean sound. It starts more to sound like a synth bass. And of course, let me not forget that up here in the layer you have keyboard. If that is selected, you have tuned. So you have tuned the kick. Essentially, I play now a G1. So I have now a tuned kick. So okay, I'll now go back to the default sound, which is just the sinus. So this is where you create the basic wave for the bass drum. And then we added this raw amount here. And you can open it by the mix. And here you can change it. So this is really phase distortion. I even can record it, replay, make it tempo bass, so all kind of cool things. And so I can mix this here. So this is the raw amount on this waveform. And of course from here it goes into the filter. You can use the filter here. And we also have pre-filter distortion. And then of course it goes to the EQ. Here you can do some pre-filter EQ things. You can add clip distortion down here. So you see now we already have a firmly distorted kick, and even. And now if I open here one of the harmonics, you will hear that it really has influence on the sound. And in the bank manager, if you go here, there is a bank down here which is called examples. Here, for instance, you see that this is a preset in which the partials are used, and I use the modulation wheel to open this partial number 10. So you don't see my keyboard yet, but I play the kick and I open the modulation wheel now. So you also can use it in a very dynamic way by using the modulation matrix here. So the modulation wheel of your MIDI keyboard connected to this layer 1 partial 10, which is this harmonic. So this is something which is very special from raw kick in creating your distorted bass drums. When I go back here to this bank examples, you also can see that there are also other examples of what you can do by using the modulation matrix. So it's possible to create some very dynamic presets. Well, maybe what also maybe you notice is that sometimes when you go to a bank and your first preset has only no sound and does say warning loud bank. We do this because many of the producers who created these presets uses really the max of distortion, even the clipping of raw kick in its master section. So we put that warning inside of it so that you maybe adapt your mixer a little bit, or your main volume of this channel, so that you don't will be surprised by a very loud kick. As mentioned, the layer can be a model. or a sample. And if you click on sample, the layer will play a sample. And you see down here, I have something already playing. Say kitchen drawer. And you see I have all kind of features. You have the envelope for this sample, so you can make sounds shorter. You can detune it. Even change the start time. Okay, and then of course, yeah, you see down here is the directory. This is factory installed. You have, if you go up, then you have the root key and you see artists. You see all kind of samples which are done by the artist. You go up again and up again to the main root and you see odd stuff, electronic bass drum, all kind of things. And number 10 is import samples. You can do this by using the menu, import sample, or by using drag and drop. So here I have one sample and simply throw it in here, and then you see there's the snare where I just dropped. And this one, if you drop this sample, it goes automatically in this folder 10 imported samples. You see, there it is. Okay, I go up again. And of course, it's important if you go to a new system and you created presets with your own samples, is that you copy these over to your new system. So it's always wise to back them up. And you will find these samples in, if you're working on PC, you will find them in the documents, Rob Harpen, raw kick samples. Here you see all these samples. And number 10 is then the folder where you did drag and drop. And then you see there is the snare. So back up this folder, and on a Apple computer, you will find these in applications, Rob Harpen, raw kick samples. So in the Apple computer applications folder. Okay, so once you have drag and drop your samples, and yeah, you created your sound, you save your preset, of course, and yeah, you see here in the sample we had the tune option, but there's also the option to do reverse. Then you see down here it's reverse, and therefore also we added this start feature. So in terms of features with your samples, you can do a lot of cool stuff. And yeah, there's so yeah. Well, as you can see with the samples, you can do a lot of tweaking. And after loading the sample, of course, you can use the filter, you can use the LFO, you can use the pre and post EQ, FX1 and FX2 inside this layer. So this layer with the sample also has a lot of synthesis features. Well, and then it's up to you. You can say I use only one layer, or you can say I use more layers, and layer 2 is a model with its own setting, and layer 3 will be again a sample. Well, it's up to you. So plenty of creative options in raw kick.